Well, good morning. I'd like to say thank you first to everyone for joining us today. I also want to say a special thank you to South Doyle High School for serving as our host, especially Principal Brad Carr and Carrie Eubanks, the Academy coach here at South Doyle High School. She's worked tremendously hard with our team to help make sure that this event was a success, so we want to make sure and thank her for her work leading up to today. My name is Keith Wilson. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Academics for Knox County Schools, and I have the honor of kicking things off this morning as we come together to mark another significant milestone for the 865 Academies and our high schools as a whole. The establishment of the 865 Academies with our first 8 high schools last year represented a step towards transforming the high school experience for students in Knox County. The Academies are a central component of our commitment to preparing students for their future through college and career empowerment. And you may recognize that as one of our 4 major district priorities. We're excited to be here today to announce the career-themed academies for our remaining 6 high schools, which means we will have established the focus for our academies across all 14 of our traditional high schools. Today, you're going to have a chance to hear from a number of people who have been instrumental in the development and expansion of the 865 Academies. I'd like to say I'm personally grateful for their support and their continued commitment to our students and our schools. While I could take a long time, as my peers would tell you, to explain things and talk through the history and the finer points of this work, there are really 2 words that come to mind when I think about the transformation of the 865 Academies and what it brings to our high schools. And those 2 words are intentionality and relationships. If you've been a teacher, and as many of us in the room have, one of the most common questions you'll get from your students is, why do I have to learn this, and when am I ever going to use this, right? When we think about being intentional in our learning, we think about really connecting those dots for our students. We've always had math, we've always had science and English and social studies and history and all those subjects in our schools. We still will have those in our high schools. And we've always had career and technical programming in our high schools. We still will have those. But what's changing is how intentional we're trying to be to help both our educators and our students connect the dots between what they're learning in the classroom and how that applies to future pathways and career opportunities that they'll face once they graduate and move out beyond high school. We also want to think about intentionality in our experiences for students. You know, as a district, we can play a significant role in making sure that students see clearly a future path towards career and success for themselves. This is created through intentional experiences where they get to try on the real world outside of high school and establish a vision for what they want to become and see a clear path to get there. When it comes to relationships, the most important relationship students have when they're in school is that with their teachers. High schools are big places with lots of faces, and the relationships that students have with their teachers are critical to their success. The academies create smaller teams within the larger school that ensure that every student, no matter how big or how small the school, is seen and known by a set of adults that are focused on their success both in high school and beyond. And finally, relationships with our community. We can't do this work alone. Building better relationships with our post-secondary, business, and industry partners is a critical support to our students in their next steps. And their engagement with our students and our educators helps paint real pictures and expectations for what success after high school requires. The input of these partners has been crucial to the work thus far, and it will continue to be. There's a lot more to come today, and you'll get a chance to hear from several others about some of the intentional work that's taken place up to this point, and you'll hear more about the support of some of these partners in the next few minutes. So without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Reiswick, to tell us a little bit more.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wilson, for your leadership. I know I haven't been part of this process from the beginning. Keith has been on the ground from one of the guys who actually brought the idea to us from some different scouting. So thank you for your leadership and also for the introduction. I also want to just pause and thank 2 other groups that have been part of this. One is every one of our high schools has a position now, and I think this is a pretty cool thing that's happening. Every school has a position that's full job is to work on being a broker between the business world and then also schools, and those are called academy coaches for us. So every one of our high schools that are here today, the 14 Keith just mentioned, have academy coaches. It's an amazing group of people. A lot of these folks have been teachers. A lot of these folks have been counselors, different kinds of things, and they see the need and the ability to speak to the business world, too. We've never had that intentional structure, and lots of times that's where relationships have fallen short. So thank you to the academy coaches who are here today. We appreciate that. Also want to say thank you to our college and career readiness department. That's a department that Ms. Shannon Jackson runs for us, and we have different members in that. As we kind of reorganized our central office, we knew that this was going to be an important priority for us. And Shannon was ready to take the helm of that and kind of say, what is this? And took it over. But 865 is the biggest initiative in that program. And we really believe as a school system that is our job, is to prepare students for that next step, not just to graduate. And without our college and career department, we couldn't do that. So, Ms. Jackson, thank you I think you're up here. Thank you, Ms. Jackson, for that. I just want to pause for a second because 3 years ago, we started talking about this. We started having these conversations. We met these folks from Ford, right? Ford NGL, and having these conversations. And really, it was kind of birthed out of this idea that can we do more? Can high school and the K-12 experience be more about more than just graduation, right? Just walking across that stage. And so I think this is a huge moment for us to think 3 years ago we were talking about can we turn traditional schools there? Can we do this transformational work? And today we're celebrating 14 schools, 14 leaders, and 14 teams that have been very intentional, some in year 3 of that, some beginning this journey with us next year, but it will complete something that we wanted to get done. And I will say this, so many times good ideas, especially when you talk about government and schools, get stuck in this implementation. I heard it called implementation black hole. Great idea, looks great on paper, have a plan and a PowerPoint, but we don't actually bring it to fruition. It takes great people to do that. And I'm just very thankful for the leaders who are doing that. So it is a milestone for us. Speaking of great people, I want to pause for a minute, too, and recognize some of our elected officials who are here today. So we'll start with, and thank you for your time to be here. We'll start with Representative Elaine Davis, who's here. Thank you very much for coming in. We'll go next to Mayor Glenn Jacobs, who I'll get to introduce in a second to speak, who's been a great partner with us. Thank you for being here. School board members that we have Reverend John Butler. I think he just walked in. If you'll raise your hand. I think I saw you. Yeah, he was the second. He may have just stepped out. I know I saw him. He was here from District 1. We have Steve Triplett, our vice chair from District 7. Steve, thank you for being here. We have Miss Christy from District 9 who is here. I don't think I missed any board members, but who did I miss? Oh, sorry. I didn't see Catherine come in. My fault. All right. Catherine Bike. There you are, Catherine. Thank you. Catherine's here, who's our District 4 representative. From Commission, we have Carson Daly, also from District 9. I saw you, Carson. Thank you for being here. We have Larson J., who's an at-large commissioner for us. And did I leave out other commissioners? Okay. Let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you. We know without you, there's no way we can afford to do these things and get this stuff done. Budget and representing us, and even what we do from the state level all the way down to the local level, that understanding of how important workforce is and the future is, and we really appreciate that for you. I also want to recognize a few partners who have made this work possible. Again, just from Knox County school side and all of our staff and our principals and our leaders that do that. We mentioned some, but we have a lot of external partners. We have the folks from Ford Next Generation Learning who are here. If you guys would wave, thank you. They are great supports for us. We're part of that network. We joined that early on. We started talking about this transformation. They've led this work across the globe in different places, all the way into Scotland, I know, but are doing this and really seeing how that transformation, how schools can become an economic engine, how they can become a connection to workforce development, and how they also give students a chance to be exposed to the things that they need once they graduate. So we really appreciate their guidance and help there. We have my friend Mike Taylor, who is from the Knox Ed Foundation. Mike is, here you are. Sorry, I know you're somewhere. We got a lot of people in different places. Mike Taylor. Mike has been great. The Knox Ed Foundation is our convening partner. You have to have someone who's helping do events like this and then also work on things. We co-chair currently a CEO Champions, which some of you are members of that. About 25 to 30 leaders business leaders in our community that are talking about this and meeting 4 times a year on how do we continue to make these experiences better and better for students. So, Mike, I appreciate your help in that and leadership in that. We have Mike Odom. He is up there right beside you from the chamber. You know, this is kind of a 3-legged stool for us. It's Knox County Schools. We also have the Knox Ed Foundation as the convener, and we can't do the business interaction without the chamber. Early on from the beginning, Mike and his team have been great to be part of that, even giving us some hours from some of their folks that work there to really try to build these relationships so that we can get these exposures for students. We have some business leaders and some who obviously couldn't be here today, but a lot who have been here as well. I mentioned those CEO champions. We have Wes Sowers, who will be chairing that for us, that CEO champion group, and they just give us good ideas. It's been great to see how the business community really embraces and is excited about this opportunity to work with the next generation of students. Our students obviously are a big part of that. They're the center of why we do it. Our educators and teachers, we've asked them to think differently in each of these schools, sometimes ask them to change classrooms, do those kinds of things. They've been willing because it's for kids to do it and really bought into that. We appreciate that. Our families who are also part of this and what we're going to be able to provide for your students long term, we appreciate your partnership and your patience and your questions to make us better at doing that. So thank you. I really want to hit three things, and then I'll pass it on to the mayor, that really I like a lot about this. So the first is this whole concept when you go to an academy structure of big being small. We've all been a student who was in high school, and some of our high schools are 2,000 plus, and it's easy. You can easily get lost. As a former principal myself, I met some kids like that who were the same way. You talk to a kid who was a sophomore with few credits, and how did you get here? Like, how did this happen that no one along the way could stop and say, hey, wait a minute, in that first semester this is happening? It's because high schools are big, and a lot of that students kind of go through and navigate that on their own. The real idea around this is building these smaller learning communities, making big small. So when you have an academy structure, you kind of section up the school into smaller pieces. You have teachers assigned to groups of kids, so no longer are we just teaching the subjects, which we have experts that are teachers who do that, but you also are now teaching students. So students are not just chemistry, right? Students need to know chemistry, but they also bring everything else into that world with them. And when a group of teachers own those kids, they own their emotional well-being, they own their heartaches, they own their celebrations, they own their when they need a little kick in the pants, they own their when they need a little break here. They get to know them and relate to them in a way and always keep a high expectation of what they want from them. So that's really one thing I like a lot about it, is that connection to the students and their outcomes. Another is just this industry experience that our students get and that we commit to with this. It's not enough for them just to graduate. We always say the 3 E's matter for us. We want everyone to graduate and walk across that stage, but be ready to enroll in a post-secondary institution, to enlist in service to our country if that's what they want to do, or to be employed, but not just be employed anywhere. Be employed in a career, a place that's going to be a high-wage, high-demand job. We're fine with any of those. Then we'll feel like our job as a K-12 system is done, and I think this gives us that opportunity. So that is our mission, to make school a place where that happens. And we do that through different experiences. We do that through guest speakers who talk to our freshmen. We do that to field trips that they get to go either to college and universities or go visit businesses. That's been real fun. I know Shannon and her team and Brad have worked hard on that. But we're sending kids out to actually see what it's like in the real world. And it's been fun to get feedback from businesses going, well, next time we need to do this or do that. But really getting that engagement piece right, it matters. And then our teachers doing externships to be able to go out and see what it's like. In kind of our teachers have been teaching for a long time. Go into industry, spend a day, have some relevant things to bring back into that. And then as we move into junior and seniors, to have internships for our students to be able to do that. My last thing is really just the partnership, and we can't do any of the things I mentioned before without a committed group of partners who are going to give those experiences to our kids, and that means our business community is opening up. I know, again, from Knox Ed Foundation, I see Ms. Clayton there. She's part of the partnership and recruiting those in for us as well. And really what that is we don't want checks from businesses. We want your time and your talent. That's the only way you're going to turn the next generation on to wanting to do the jobs you have, is to bring in and invest that time in classrooms and that time in experiences. So very grateful for the partnerships too. With that, I was long, sorry, because I always am too. But I will say this, someone who I really appreciate, not just because he's our elected mayor, but because I know he does care about the next generation. He's shown that time and time again in our relationship through early literacy, but also really in workforce development. He's been at the table every time we've had conversations about how do we bring business in. Anytime there's opportunities to give students opportunities in high school to start getting ready for that next step, he's been very pro-workforce and helpful in that. So with that, I'll introduce my friend and our mayor, Glenn Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, and thank you all for being here for this exciting announcement. I'm very proud of Knox County Schools and their dedication to providing varied pathways to success for our students. Knox County and our surrounding counties are home to a diverse range of industries and businesses. These academies take the interests of students, align them with local workforce needs, and then help our young people develop the skills needed for their futures. A strong education system is one of the foundations of a thriving community. So by making an investment in these students, We're actually making an investment in the future of Knox County and all of East Tennessee. So again, thank you all so much for being here. And now I'd like to introduce the president and CEO of the Knoxville Chamber, Mr. Mike Odom. Mike.
Good morning. About 14 months ago, we released a piece of work that talked about that our world is on the precipice of the next industrial revolution, that we are preparing to have significant change economically, and that we didn't feel that the Knox County community was ready for that or could take advantage of it. And so we have to ensure we can no longer teach our kids the same way we've been teaching our kids. We have to be prepared for that future. We have to prepare them for that future. The 865 Academies and the Academy model does that. And so we have been very excited to be a part of it. As John mentioned, yes, we have a significant member of our team who spends a lot of time over at Knox County Schools. I'm still waiting for that reimbursement of her salary. I'm sure we'll get that soon. But more importantly is for our business community, we have to continue to provide feedback to KCS so that they know what they need to teach their kiddos. So these kids can get out of the schools, whether they go through whatever the three E's they get to, they can be prepared and be successful in life. And so that's why we're proud to be here today. That's why we're proud to be a part of this initiative, and I'm very appreciative of everything that KCS is doing. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mike Taylor, the CEO of Knox Education Foundation.
Thank you. And Mike, thanks for your partnership. We're grateful for the partnership and support with the Chamber and what it means to our schools. Today's announcement will have a lasting impact on our schools and the future of our community. Strong schools combined with a qualified workforce are really the lifeblood of a community. The unveiling of the new academies at these 6 schools will complete the career-focused connections in the 865 Academies, and the academies create increased opportunities for students, which wouldn't be possible without the partnership with local businesses and education-minded community leaders like you. Partnerships, though, are more than public and private relationships. They also include community organizations, nonprofits, as they play a very important role in the academies as well. As the convening organization for the 865 Academies, the Knox Education Foundation works closely with the community and the Knoxville Chamber to recruit businesses and organizations to build these valuable partnerships with Knox County Schools. For those of you here today that are partners and supporters of the 865 Academies, we appreciate your commitment to building strong schools that provide our students with the impactful hands-on educational experiences they need to obtain the jobs of today and the jobs of the future. As the Cohort 2 and Cohort 3 schools unveil their academies, it increases our call for action for additional businesses, organizations, and industry partners to become involved in the 865 Academies. The commitment of time and talent from new partners is vital to the success of these academies, and all students deserve strong, connected learning opportunities, which in turn benefits our community as a whole. So thank you for being our partners, for your dedication into building strong schools, your willingness to make a difference for our students, and for providing quality career-focused learning opportunities in every high school classroom. So now I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Polly Johnson, Director of Education and Workforce Development with the Boys and Girls Club. She will share how community connectedness impacts students. Polly?
Thank you all. Good morning. Very happy to be here. I'm Polly Johnson, Director of Education and Workforce Development Programs for the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Tennessee Valley. And very excited to be here not only as a member of the community, but then also a member of the steering committee. And one of the things when I first walked in, we had one of our young people that is a youth force participant, which is our workforce development program, said, "What's Boys and Girls Club doing here?" And I said, well, first of all, we're everywhere, but which is a great thing. I said, but the reason that we're here is because we want to be able to support our young people in the community. And so by being able to be a part of conversations like this, being able to be a part of the steering committee, we're able to promote the connectivity of what's going on in our classrooms to what is happening out in the industry. And that's imperative to make sure that we are making sure that our kids are ready for what comes next and what comes in the future. That's part of what I do, oversee programs in 6 high schools here in Knox County, and then I also oversee our workforce development program. And our goal is to ensure the kids have a plan for the future. That's our mission. Whether it is, enrolling post-secondary, enlisting in the military, or moving into a career, those employability skills are crucial, and we want to make sure that all of our young people have all of those skills before they transition out of our high schools. And then one of the things that I want to talk about, also is not only having that connectedness, between the schools and the industry, but making sure the support is there between other entities like the Boys and Girls Club, making sure that we are, everybody knows what's going on, but making sure that we are visible in the community and that we are seen, as a player at the table, that we can provide opportunities for young people. So whether, that kids are in the classroom and they're learning the content, and then they're moving into the industries, to be able to see how that applies to careers and to future, and being able to be supportive of technical training camps, internships, work-based learning. We are so excited and happy to be a part of that connectivity. I talk about this all the time. Not only am I a member as a stakeholder for the Boys and Girls Club, but I'm also a parent in Knox County schools. And I want to make sure that the opportunities that are available for my children are available for everyone in Knox County schools. And, the work that we do is just that personal to all of us. And so I appreciate that, and appreciate being able to be a part of the conversation that we have here today. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Principal of Southdale High School, and that would be Mr. Carr. So.
Thank you. I'm going to be a little bit selfish for just a minute if I can. For anybody that walked in today, you got to see our band, our cheerleaders, our choir, and our ambassadors here. So I'd appreciate it if we could give these kids a round of applause. I will just tell you that while everybody was enjoying the snow and the ice, Carrie Eubanks, our academy coach, and I were on the phone a lot. She was doing more work than I was, I'm not going to lie to you. But getting ready to come out of Snowmageddon and have this event and all those things, she did a tremendous job of getting with our choir director, our band director, getting our communication with our ambassadors and those types of things. And everybody from South Doyle was ready to go at the drop of a hat, so I appreciate that very much. My purpose really in speaking this morning is to kind of expand on what Dr. Riswick talked about earlier, and give you a glimpse into what it means to make big small. And so there's really kind of two things that I want to highlight this morning. So we're a cohort 2 school. Right now we have a freshman academy that's fully operational. Obviously we're here today to see what the career academies are going to be for the schools that are represented, which of course we're included in that. But when you think about making big small, there's kind of two things that come out of that. There's a teaming approach, and then there's a freshman seminar component that drives that first year. The teaming approach and the way we make big small is through co-location. So we've got all of our freshmen. If you got to come in, we have a nice big campus. We've got all of our freshmen together on Young Campus, which is the building that stands alone across the street. That's the expectation for our freshman academy and for our other academies as well, that we put our kids together, we put our teachers together, and then we really start developing those relationships that Dr. Riswick talked about. In addition to that, we give our teachers time every single week to sit down and talk about our kids. How are they doing? Who's making progress? Who's not? Who needs what? What can we do for them? And to give you an example of that teaming process and the results that it can bring, again, referencing Dr. Riswick here, getting to that sophomore year and having kids that aren't on track to graduate, they don't get to participate as much in what these 865 academies offer, if that's the case. So last year, at this point, coming back into the second semester, last year's freshmen, our current sophomores, about 79-80% of them were considered on track to graduate by Knox County standards. Now, we typically graduate somewhere in the upper 80% each year, so that means we're going to push from about 80% to find 7 more percent of our kids that we can get on track to graduate over the course of 4 years. At the end of December, over 92% of our freshmen were on track to graduate, with another 4% who are currently doing January Blitz because they were close enough to passing that they can recover in a month. So hopefully what that means is over 96% of our kids are going to be eligible to take advantage right out of the gate in 10th grade with what we're going to offer in our career academies. Now, the other side of that is freshman seminar. Every freshman is going through freshman seminar here and at Carter this year because they've got freshman academy as well. So that's really where we start talking about what skills do you need to be employable or to go out into the workforce or to go to college or that type of thing. And then they get to look firsthand at what opportunities we offer in-house here at South Doyle. So they're very familiar with the pathways that they think we're going to have, that we're going to confirm for them today. And then they also get exposure in that freshman year to, all right, let's start looking at some colleges. Let's start looking at some careers. And then in 10th and 11th grade, we've got some more experiences lined up for them that we're ready to take advantage of. So there's really a connectedness through relationship with that teaming approach, and there's a connectedness through relevance with that freshman seminar approach. So really proud of the work that we're doing there. I do want to point out two more people. Daryl Chandler, Katie Reeser, raise your hands, please, in the back. Those two people back there, they've been designated to take care of and foster and grow that freshman academy, and those numbers that I talked about earlier are a direct result of their work and their team's work, so I appreciate that. Really excited about the future for South Doyle and for all the other schools that are represented here today, but I've talked long enough, so I want to invite Bailey Conkin, one of our ambassadors, up to speak to you a little bit further.
I'm not as tall as everyone up here. My name is Bailey Conkin. I'm a junior here at South Doyle. I play basketball here, and I am a part of the marketing management pathway in our Academy of Health Science and Business. I'm also in DECA, which is our business and marketing club here, as well as NHS and FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Also, our store over there that you see to my left is a part of our marketing classes, and it's a really fun part that we get to experience. And I'm also an ambassador, and to my left are my other ambassadors. We will offer academy tours and demonstrations a little bit later. But being a part of the marketing management pathway has enabled me to broaden my knowledge and experience within the marketing field. So it's just been like a really good experience, like to prepare me for my future. So thank you all for being here to support us. Now I'd like to introduce Ms. Shannon Jackson, who is the Knox County Schools Executive Director of College and Career Readiness.
Thank you very much for that introduction. We've arrived at this point today because of collaboration, communication, and coordination among all the stakeholders in the community. This began with 49 focus groups 3 years ago, and we've continued to coordinate with the stakeholder groups through structures that have been put in place, and you've heard about some of them today, like the CEO Champions or the Steering Committee, who came together to meet for 6 hours this Tuesday on the heels of all this weather that we've had to give us their time, their talent, and their expertise. This is helping us to really think about how we transform our schools so that our students are ready to enlist, enroll, and employ with intentionality and with information that helps them to guide their decision both about what's happening in the workforce and also what they've learned about themselves through this experience. We are aligning our high schools to workforce projections and needs of the Knoxville community. So as you see these academies and the pathways that are revealed, this is through intentional work, looking at student surveys for what they're interested in, working with the chamber to understand where we're going. As they mentioned the Transitioning Knoxville report, that's something that we looked very deeply into and asked a lot of questions, got more information from the Future Jobs report to understand what are the projections for 5, 10, 15 years from now so that our students are ready to enter both with the right pathways and the right skills, which are outlined in our 865 Portrait of a Graduate. So on our steering committee, they had the opportunity to also engage with that work and to sit down and have conversations with each of our principals and academy coaches about how they made the decisions, how they were prepared to be able to open and support these academies, and what that means in terms of time and effort from our partners as well. So as we get to this point, I just want to offer a few thank yous. I would be very remiss not to thank the people who have donated their time to help us get to this point and to help us build a sustainable model so that this is the way that we do high school in Knoxville. So I would like to first thank Lauren Longmire. So she has been with me from the beginning as I moved from being in teaching and learning to really thinking about workforce development, helping us to understand how to read those trends and understand what's going on in the regional workforce development and engaging with the business community. Wendy Clayton, who is specifically on the ground with Kev helping us to recruit the partners for the time and the effort, because this work doesn't happen without that volunteer spirit that comes from our partners, but it does take somebody who's actively building that network of partners for us. Dr. Christy Seals is doing the same work for us with post-secondary partners, another stakeholder group that's really integral to making sure that as our students think about potentially enrolling, they're enrolling with purpose, they understand what they're doing when they make that decision, and they potentially graduate early or on time because of the experiences they have starting in that freshman academy. And then I'd also like to say a special thank you to our coaches from Ford and GL. So their expertise has really helped to guide us as we kind of get stuck and say, okay, we're working on this model, and how have other communities solved various problems? So I do want to issue a very special thank you to Donna Gilley, who's been with us from the beginning, Dr. Donna Woods, who joined us about this time last year, and then Mark Hill, who joined us in December. So getting to have that expertise guide our work has been incredibly helpful to me. And finally, of course, a huge thank you to every partner who has been willing to open their doors to our students or come into the community. We really appreciate all that you're doing. So with that, this has been a huge undertaking, and I am very grateful that in November of this year, we added a member to our team, Dr. Brad Coram. So I'm going to bring Dr. Coram up to announce our academies.
Thank you, Shannon, for that introduction. And I also want to echo Shannon's sentiment about how thankful we are for all of our business and community partners and our organizations that are involved with this process. Without you, this would not be possible. And having served as a high school principal at two different high schools gave me the opportunity to see how valuable this work is and how valuable this will be to the future of our students and our teachers. And if there's one thing I can say about myself, I'm about students and I'm about teachers. And this gives us the opportunity to give them a vehicle to make much more meaningful futures for themselves. And I'm extremely thankful for the work that Dr. Riswick and Dr. Wilson are doing in this capacity, and to serve arm in arm with Ms. Jackson every day. I'm grateful to play a part in supporting our principals, academy coaches, students, and families who make up the 865 academies. Now let's get down to the business at hand today, announcing the academies for 6 additional high schools. Our principals are going to do the unveiling, and our student ambassadors will read the academy names. Please hold your applause until the end. As our host principal, I would ask Dr. Carr to start us off, and we will go straight down the line.
Hi, I'm Jonah Mitchell. I'm a junior here at Southwell High School. I'm with Dr. Carr. Us here at Southwell High School, we're proud to unveil our academies of engineering and fabrication and health science and business.
Hi, I'm Jenna Wilson. I'm here with Mr. Killian, and Carter High School is proud to announce the Academy of Engineering and Manufacturing and the Academy of Communication and Health.
Hi, I'm Jenna Rose Williams, and I'm here with Mr. Webster. Gibbs High School is proud to unveil the Academy of Health, Business, and Professional Services and the Academy of Technology, Engineering, and Design.
Hi, my name is Megan Billiter, and I'm with Halls High School, and we are proud to announce our academies: the Academy of Engineering, Technology, and Transportation, the Academy of Life Science, and the Academy of Skilled Entrepreneurs.
Hi, I'm Olivia Graves, and I'm here with Dr. Smith, and Powell High School is proud to unveil the Academy of Commerce and Transportation, the Academy of Digital Arts and Design, and the Academy of Health Science and Human Services.
Hello, my name is Weetzi Barroso, and West High School is proud to announce the Academy of Creative and Technological Innovation, the Academy of Global Commerce and Communication, and the Academy of Health Sciences and Human Services. And we are One West.
All right. All right, Give them another round of applause for all the hard work that's gone into this. All right, at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Wilson for our closing remarks.
But my first note said to applaud for all the academies, but I think we've done that twice at this point, so we can probably skip over that one. As already been mentioned, the current South Doyle and Carter freshman students are making their academy selection soon. They're engaged in that freshman academy this year, and our rising ninth graders at Gibbs, Halls, Powell, and West in August will start the school in the new freshman academies, and they'll make their academy and pathway selections next spring. I'm thrilled at what each of our schools is offering. Really believe that this is how we're going to ensure that our students are prepared to contribute and compete in the economy after they graduate from high school. We really, again, want to thank you guys for being here today. Thanks for your support of the 865 Academies, and thanks for your continued support of the Knox County Schools.